Hi guys, this is Billy from AdultCello.com, and today I want to share with you 4 tips on how to prevent injury while playing the cello via better body use. I think these days most people are aware of how prevalent repetitive use injuries are amongst string players. So today I won't talk about general aspects like stretching, yoga, and Alexander technique, which are all excellent. Instead, let's focus on the time we spend actually playing the instrument. So today I'm going to share some tips and ideas that can help you find your ideal playing position. Tip number 1 is check your posture. It can be a very natural thing to want to wrap your body around the cello and hunch over while playing. I mean, that's where all the action is taking place, right? This was a habit I developed mainly out of a desire to see whether or not I was pulling a straight bow. The problem is, of course, this hunched over position forces our neck muscles and our trapezius muscles to work overtime since our head is no longer in natural alignment with our spines. It's the same issue that plagues other aspects of modern living, sitting in chairs hunched forward to stare at screens of our phones, laptops, etc. So here's an experiment. Let's sit in our chair with the cello at arm's distance away from us. I'm not going to say sit with good posture because often that makes us want to stiffen up into some conceptual idea of tallness, which is probably not a whole lot better than hunching over since both states are physically taxing. If you want, you can imagine that a piece of string is attached to the crown of your head and that your neck and spine are just hanging off of it in a relaxed neutral state. Great. Now let's add the cello. Ideally, we should learn to play in a position much like this one. Again, we are free to move around as much as needed since we aren't trying to hold a position, but let's say this would be our default position. You can make little tweaks to the way the cello approaches you if this new sitting style makes it hard to reach the tip of the bow on the A string, for example, but I think the big trick is to learn to play as much as possible with open body language. I've found the sound I produce is richer and more resonant whenever I focus on playing this way, and it certainly has been way less taxing on my neck and back muscles. Give it a try. It may feel awkward at first, and you may feel like you have to adjust your bow arm slightly to pull a straight bow with this new posture, but I think it is definitely worth a shot. On a side note, open body language also honestly just looks better to an audience, and if performance is a part of your cello future plan, this is even more important. All right, tip number 2, get a chair/cushion situation to set you up for success. Since we just talked about the enormous importance of posture as a means of injury prevention, it should come as no surprise that finding the ideal sitting situation can make a huge difference in both your comfort and your ability to find an ergonomically beneficial position. Just as you will find cellists who use all different lengths of end pins, short, super long, straight, bent, you will also find cellists who prefer different ways of sitting. The following is what I recommend, and it's also what I've noticed the majority of cellists will benefit from. As far as the chair goes, you want to have chair legs that are the right height for your body. So what that translates to is that the chair legs are low enough so that both feet touch the ground completely, but high enough so that your legs form an angle that is more than 90 degrees. Essentially, your hips should be ever so slightly above your knees. Most cellists also prefer to sit more towards the front edge of the seat of their chairs and also prefer a chair with back legs that are slightly longer than the front legs. This arrangement will pitch the player forward slightly so that they come to meet the cello naturally, and the forward angle also helps with transferring the relaxed weight of the bow arm into the strings. To achieve longer chair legs in the back, you can buy a cello chair with adjustable legs. You could find a different chair and simply add little blocks of wood that elevate the back legs slightly, or you could add a wedge-shaped cushion on top of your chair seat. Although in my experience, a wedge-shaped cushion alone doesn't quite do the trick. Just as the right mattress can improve your life via better sleep, the right chair can make a dramatic difference in the way your body handles cello playing. Okay, tip number 3, raise your music stand to eye height when practicing. Let's take a look at 2 clips of me playing a piece of music. Here I am playing from a music stand at a lower height. And here I am playing with one at eye level. I think it's pretty clear that in the second case, my neck is doing less work and my body is in overall better alignment. Just a slight adjustment, like raising the height of your music stand, can save your neck muscles hundreds of hours of extra work they don't need to be doing. For me, it did take some getting used to, and at first it just felt silly, honestly, to have my stand so high. But I do think it makes a big difference, especially if most of your playing time is done at home in the form of practice. Just so you know, I don't always play with a tall music stand during performances or gigs because I think it can be visually distracting. But I do recommend it for any time you're practicing at home. And finally, my fourth and final tip, check your neck. If there's one body part that I would prioritize, it's the neck. A little while ago, I made a video that delves more deeply into this topic. To summarize, what I learned when I studied Alexander technique is that we adults have a tendency to clench in our necks to some degree pretty much anytime we use our bodies. Getting in and out of chairs, reaching out to grab a glass of water, reaching down to tie our shoes, we always tend to do a little more than what's needed. Now, when it comes to something as complicated as learning to play the cello, most of us will experience a huge amount of clenching and tightening in our necks because we feel the need to hold ourselves still as we try to perform such precise movements. The harder we want specific results from our hands and arms, the more likely we are to squeeze. The good news is that if we sort of flip this scenario around, it becomes possible to control much of the tension we feel as we play if we can learn to disengage our necks. It's very hard to hold tension anywhere in our bodies without engaging our neck muscles to some degree. And so if you can learn to play and constantly undo anything starting to build up in your neck, then other parts of your body will decrease in tension as well. The way I see it, the neck is like the dial on a thermostat, and if you can turn down the needle to less and less tension, the rest of your body will respond accordingly. So there are 4 tips to help you prevent injury while learning to play the cello. For adult learners, I think the name of the game is developing awareness of how we are using our bodies and then learning to use them more and more naturally and efficiently. If you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, please consider doing so, and thanks so much for watching.